insane or, we could say challenged in some sort of way, lying down right there on the road. Thank you, Charles, for that. But Charles, you should have just asked him to move. Was it possible for you? But of course, if any authorities are hearing me, there's need for help and guidance right there to avoid loss of lives. Let me check again on at 3 routes. There is a fatal accident involving a border and the passenger with a KBS bus at the Sarova Stanley and Kimathi House Junction. I'm assuming you meant a pillion, because when you board a border, you're pretty much a pillion. So we are seeing a fatal accident. The word is fatal. Quite disheartening to highlight this morning. Remember, I'm using at 3 route as my main source of information. So that tweet by at Peters Mwash is informing me that there is a fatal accident involving a border and the pillion with a KBS bus at Sarova Stanley and Kimathi House Junction. Please reply to that tweet. Let me know if the authorities are on location. The EMTs, EMIs, any ambulances, please make those calls. There are hotlines. Just pretty much Google. And if you're not trained, all right, to touch anybody, do not make a move. Please, if you are an observer and you have no basic first aid training, do not touch any casualty, do not touch any victim, all right? You could cause more harm. I like to, make that very clear. But please take your phones, don't just record the scene, do make a call. Let's save the lives. We can save at least one. I want to know the source of the crash as well. We can avoid that if we learn from it. Quite unfortunate to record this morning. Limuru, as always, guys, hey, Limuru, fog and mist. Natuna Juanga too. It is a month of June. Have your lights on for visibility. The tunnel vision is very, very narrow. Visibility close to 0. One reason why you have those lights on, not because you want to see, okay, it's fine to see, but you have to be seen. Mind the other driver, the oncoming vehicle. We want to avoid those head-on collisions. If you're in Limuru or any place whatsoever that is experiencing this kind of weather, early mornings and late evenings, fog and mist, it's cloudy, it's drizzling, please have those lights on, full lights on for visibility. All right, real quick, I am looking at reporting an incident, but just check out my 3 roads, so much is going on. I'm looking at just how Thika Road is this morning. Thika Road, real quick, this tweet by PK Ngugi PK, a handle now. Good morning. I was about to call you guy, my guy. All right, and I said Thika Road, Kameshikana from KCA University. So Thika Road, not very beautiful to be at. I had to touch on that. Ngong Road was flowing smoothly about 49 minutes ago. Lakini naona shida hapo. Metro Trans buses are cool. Hey, all right. Watu wa Kawangware, is it the same feeling? Wanasema Metro Trans buses are cool, clean, no noise, no music, no parliament of touts. I'm a group of touts huitwa aje. Jacob, are you challenging me to, have some good vocabulary today? However, that's good news. That's good news. Remember, to Ama 3 Water, a great shout out to you for what you do. Just remember to keep it professional. Let's respect the passengers. Let's respect our officers, respective officers. I was here with the, of course, chairperson, Matatu Association of Kenya, and he said they can only do so much from where they sit. Ultimately, it is my responsibility, just as it is yours, to ensure that Matatu industry is as respected, loved, efficient, and safe for all of us. Now, in the terms of that, and in the light of safety, efficiency, and mobility, I have a guest in studio. And today I was very intentional about not just talking about the, the roads, how they look, potholes, lighting. I'm talking about public health. And Stowell is best placed to give me these answers today. It's good to have you again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Are you comfortable?
Yeah, pretty much very comfortable, yeah, and it's a good studio, so yeah.
Thank you. So of course they can also send in their questions. Mm-hmm. And if the authorities need guidance, from your expertise, they can also bring in their thoughts.
Sure thing.
All right. I want to start from, when COVID struck. Mm-hmm. Maybe that people can be more familiar with that. It spread so fast. Mm-hmm. All right. And not just in our homes, but you see, before it comes home, it was pretty much someone I sat nearby, next to in a matatu. Mm-hmm. Stuff like fumigation, please sanitize, wash your hands right outside. Mm-hmm. This is all public health, is it not?
It is public health.
Maybe you can relate what public health is, and why then it's important to discuss it even on matters mobility and public service transportation sector?
So public health, the very simplest explanation to public health is how do you ensure the population at first are practicing the correct health habits, and how do you ensure they are safe? So if you're explaining it to at a lay person, is that public health is the practice to ensure that you at the ground are safe and that you're able to prevent diseases. Because public health is really about prevention, mostly. How do we prevent people from becoming sick, eventually creating health? And in the transport sector,
Yes.
Public health plays a very, very big role. And I think COVID-19 brought it very openly, that in two ways. That one, public transport was one of the biggest contributors to the spread of COVID-19, but also it was also one of the most important components when people who had COVID-19 needed to get to facilities in time and needed to get to hospitals in time.
Yes.
And so we see it as COVID-19 showed us that the importance of public health, but especially in transport. You saw that during 2020, 2021 especially, Matatu started even to remove some seats so that it's more open and people are not as squeezed.
The spacing
the
idea.
The spacing was huge,
Yes.
and the windows were more open and stuff like that.
Yes.
And people started to sanitize at the bus stops, which is nothing, people have not seen this before. But people started to do it. People started to wash their hands at the bus stages. And so that is just to show the importance of very simple habits that I know we'll get into,
Yes.
that then really contribute to ensuring that we are safe in the public transport system.
I'm actually glad you brought us back home. It's relatable that we had to do certain things to ensure that we were able to stay safe in those particular buses and PSVs, whichever it is, including sanitization. But now COVID-19 is back. That's the reality. So things ought to be done.
Yeah.
And some of these things just don't need to be done because of COVID. There is continuity that needs to, to be observed. What are these things, the do's that we're probably ignoring or not taking very seriously?
Yeah, so with COVID and the fact that it's now coming back, but even if it didn't come back,
yes,
there are things that, we should now adopt for public transport. But before that, an interesting fact is, as I was going through my research, I found very interesting that the seats of the buses and the materials, they're designed so that you never know that they're dirty, So, so that is, did you know fact of the day is, that is how the seats are designed and that is their material. But coming back to the question, what should we be able to do? So I'll sort of start with the basics when it comes to what could be done and what ought to be done. And at the very basic point, public transport needs to be clean. And that is why I started with that fact, because then it sort of leads us into that point. Public transport needs to be clean. And in some countries that I've traveled through, there is a culture that I always wish us to adopt, because I'm a huge lover of public transport myself. Matatus and Ganyas is what I move in most of the time. And so when they are clean, it already adds to the experience, and also it keeps you safe. So that is essentially the first thing. You've seen people complain that there is, bed bugs in matatus.
Yes, I have. A great shout out to, I'm sorry to say this, but Crispin, good morning. Yes, I had to say hi to Crispin. He knows why. I think he saw a cockroach once. Yes.
Yeah, cockroaches and whatnot. So that is where we start. Like, how do we wash our vehicles, and what is the routine for that? How do we do it after every 2 days? Do we do it weekly? It needs to be frequent. It needs to be clean. And then the second thing is the issue of seatbelts and seatbelts saving lives. When it comes to public health especially, accidents is one of the biggest causes of death. It's on the road. And this could be easily solved with, implementation of seatbelts. And we saw a while back, I think this is during our parents' times, when there were very stringent seatbelt rules, there was very few accidents. And then as it declined, then the accidents came up, and then they began to tighten it again. And so we see that it's now already, somehow being regulated and going down, but seatbelts are very important, especially in public transport. And a lot of lives have been saved because of that. And a lot of lives have also been lost because of negligence of wearing seatbelts.
I
So
agree.
that then becomes the other thing that needs to be done in the public health sector for us to be safe inside there. I think the third thing that needs to be done is the concept of aeration and space. And the best time we saw this very practically was especially last year, when all of a sudden we were supposed to have like a certain number of people in the buses, and the windows were always open and the air was always flowing
And we would hardly see overloading.
Yeah, there was no overloading. I honestly enjoyed public transport at that time because I was like, wow, this is nice. And people paid. That is the other thing. You think people wouldn't pay? People actually paid and people enjoyed it. So then there is that, issue of are we able to be in a bus or in a matatu or in an area which is aerated? And then when you come to the motorcycles,
yes,
the other important thing is
very important.
Helmets, as safety measures. And we always emulate countries like Rwanda who've really done it very well with their helmets and their hygiene. I've been there, and before you go into a border, you have to have like a scarf for your head, and then you have like a helmet. And so these are some of the things that then, help the safety of the vehicle. But that's the obvious. So let's come to a bit of the not so obvious things that needs to be done. One of the things then starts with the pollution and the quality of vehicles on the road. There are roads that are roadworthy, and there are those that are, the vehicles I mean that are roadworthy, and those that are not roadworthy. And it's very important that on the road we have vehicles that their engines work well, their exhaust pipes work well, they're not releasing a lot of smoke into the air.
So I'm sorry to interject, but these are things pretty much Kenyans know. Even those who own these unroadworthy vehicles know. But it's still happening. Have you ever assessed the reasons why we still have them on the roads? Because I know a 6-year-old would tell you, Mommy, that vehicle is emitting too much gas, I'm choking. They pretty much know this is, but still continues. Don't we have regulations, even from the Ministry of Health?
Regulations are there, but the other question is why. I guess the answer should start from why is it important? Because we know that this matatu is too old, it's emitting smoke, but why is that a concern? And I think until we understand why it is a concern, then we can start to advocate for, hey, these regulations are there, they should now be enforced.
All right.
So one of the reasons why it is a concern that, these vehicles that are roadworthy and unroadworthy need to be cleaned up is when you look at non-communicable diseases, and especially when you start to look at lung-related diseases, like lung cancer, like chronic pulmonary disease, like asthmas. And what people don't realize is that lung-related diseases are about to become the second leading cause of death, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, but also globally. And it is hugely contributed by pollution, air pollution, and especially particulate pollution from vehicles and automobiles that produce these fumes.
All right.
So people need to understand that first, that by them allowing these vehicles to be on the road, a lot more people are dying because of consuming the gases and the smoke and the dust. And so the reason why they're still there is, first of all, the enforcement is not as strong. The policies are there.
All right.
Policies show that a vehicle that is unroadworthy has X, Y, and Z, and that it should be stricken off the road. But the enforcement is what is not there, and it's not as strong, which is where road advocates or advocates advocating for road safety become particularly important, because it's them that act as watchdogs for governments and enforcing institutions to then enforce these principles. I think the other thing why they are there is has to deal with, well, first is the enforcement, but I think also it has to deal with the status of how the roads are managed at the moment. In mind to say groups or circles. We have circles.
Yes, we do.
So are there rules to then manage those circles to ensure that if we are not able to take individuals' vehicles out of the road, then we, as governments and institutions, we can task the SACCOs, to enforce those laws.
And I had, is it on Monday? I had two. I had a cyclist here, and then I had an electric bike. Also right here, and we have heard we don't have time, an organization that's also advocating for electric cars, where you sit, as a public health, expert. You then think it's a good idea that Kenya as a government, and alongside Kenyans, would then want to embrace this new technology. What do you think of that?
I think we should. And green mobility and alternative sources of mobility, especially electric vehicles, bicycles as well, and footpaths, I think that's the future.
Okay.
And here's an interesting thing. In 2020, the first Tesla Model S sort of landed in Kenya.
Sort of.
Yes. I mean, I think it was there could be others that came in, but that was the publicly, people saw it and people were taking pictures of it everywhere. You'd see how people are excited around electric vehicles. And we were like, wow, must be nice, eh? Riding in such doesn't emit smoke, consumes, it's very fuel efficient or electric efficient and whatnot. And so locally, what is beginning to happen, we are beginning to see, while it's not fully electric, we're beginning to see a rise of hybrid vehicles, especially in the PSV sector. I read news somewhere that the public sector is also, wanting to test some electric buses and stuff like that.
I think I've seen one.
Yeah, I haven't seen myself, but I've read that they want to test it. But people are excited. People are like, if these options were there, if the public transport was actually good, people would actually be excited to use public transport.
Okay.
And someone like me, for example, I'd be like, if I could come from town to my place in a very good, efficient public transport, then I don't need to own a vehicle. And if many people don't then have that need to own vehicles because we're having all of these electric vehicles, electric trains, it's becoming safe, it's becoming easy to commute, then less accidents, less pollution caused by fuels and smoke, more people become healthy, and as a result, the ecosystem begins to change.
Amazing, amazing. I was thinking of fumigation, and I remember it coming out very strongly during COVID, because you had to sanitize, you had to fumigate. I don't know, just talk to these people. Maybe it's not enough, because sometimes Kenyans have said when the government comes at them, it's pretty much an attack. Maybe if it came from a public health expert, it will come out more friendly. Just making sure that these matatus are consumer friendly in terms of bed bags, cockroaches, because I come from my house all clean, but I'm going to live with something stuck on it, and I'm going to go to the next matatu, because eventually I'm going to go home in a matatu as well. There's going to be a cycle of an unhealthy nation. What are your thoughts, and what would you say is the right way of fumigating, vehicles? How many times? What is the criteria? I mean, just your own expertise perspective.
Yeah, so one of the things that especially say around the cleaning process of the buses, where also fumigation comes in. I mean, it's best practice that it is done frequently. Frequently could be, say, once a month or twice a month.
Okay.
COVID-19 was a very good example because it showed us how it's done. For most of the time, I don't think we had seen like large-scale fumigation and how it is done. So that is the first thing. So if then, especially matatus who are running through SACCOs and cooperatives, there is moral incentive for the cooperatives and the SACCOs to ensure that their matatus are clean and that they are being fumigated and being consumer friendly. The other thing that we're beginning to see in terms of consumer friendliness with public transit is the introduction of pay bills and till numbers. And now, as the comment you are saying, there's no parliament of conductors or touts hanging there and shouting all of the time. We know that this is the fare. Everybody just gets in and pays. And I think when you get to the point where you are able to pay, that from CBD to Westlands is 50 throughout. When you get to that point where there is that efficiency and we've gotten there, it will become much easier for people to get it. I mean, when I'm in the coast, I like it because when you get into a tuk-tuk, it's 50 bob everywhere. And and it's very efficient that way. And so if we start to adopt such principles, then matatus become consumer friendly. But also, I think lastly is, besides the general cleanliness of the matatus and besides the fumigation, as well as, the general hygiene of the vehicle, it's the people as well.
I agree.
Because
I agree.
Part of the whole system is that matatus could be clean, they could work well. If the drivers are howling at you and the conductors are there, being very rude or not being very nice,
or not smelling very nice,
or not smelling very nice, which is, I actually find issues with with that, but that's a conversation for another day.
It's a conversation for today.
Yeah,
it's absolutely a conversation today, Stowell.
Yeah, if that experience, the human experience with the people at the vehicles, that needs to change as well.
Yes.
And especially in small matatus, the 14-seaters.
Ma3.
Yeah. The smell of the conductors, that's a huge factor, in terms of human experience. Just today, when I was coming here, I also used a matatu, and I got in, and then I was followed with, someone who clearly was, and he was a tout, clearly, wasn't even dressed up well, and
so he didn't have the right uniforms for his office?
Right uniforms.
Okay.
He smelled terrible. It looked like he had been there, the whole night. I had to come out and move into the next vehicle.
Okay.
And then other people started to follow. They're like, no. We need to move in, but also we need this experience. This guy has to be nice. He has to, treat people nicely. So that sort of wholesome experience, if we have that in the transport sector in general, then we begin to have, a whole ecosystem where people love to use public transport.
And Stowell, it just hit me right now. We're talking about COVID, and there's a matter of, get vaccinated, get your second jab. If you have, get your booster. And I thought maybe, what if the matatu, we're not saying it must be done. Imagine it's voluntarily done, but do they check if they're vaccinated? That is a whole staff in there, the tout and the driver, those are staff members in that matatu. Does the public health, fraternity think it is important that they're also, the capacity building is done for them? And do you guys do that? Do you walk around, sensitize these people about their hygiene? Do these programs really happen? I
mean, you've seen it. A good example is Kencom. Kencom, I can use that because I see them there every now and again. But, the government, and especially through the public health officers in charge of vaccination, they are there, they've camped there, they have a desk. There, they are always howling at people, educating them about the importance of COVID vaccination and doing it right there.
Okay.
And we see that these programs are already happening. In fact, there is now a huge drive to ensure that more people are getting vaccinated. And I mean, looking at the whole transport ecosystem, you see right now you can't come into the country without the vaccination. You have to be vaccinated.
Yes.
And even to leave as well, which is part of those laws that are being enforced. And so locally with the local transport, you see that they are being educated as well. And it's very encouraged that they, get vaccinated, especially people whose life and whose work touches a lot of people, like, drivers and the touts. Their work, everybody, most of the people, they get into contact with them.
All right.
So it's encouraged that they get vaccinated, and you see a lot of effort towards getting the message to them where they are. So at the bus stages, you'd see public health officers there with the vaccination and their desks, talking about it and educating it and bringing it there.
And I really appreciate if that is happening. I want to hear from the Kenyans. Remember to talk to us at Lookup TV. We are live on Facebook. If I could pick a few, I see Joyce Kimari. Joyce Kimari is a fan, an advocate as far as road safety is concerned, all the way from South Africa. And she says, good morning, Anki, your guests and viewers. So good morning to you as well. Saying, Anki, in the area where I live, passengers don't eat and drink in the public service vehicles. Secondly, fumigation takes place weekly. All right, you will respond to that, eating and, of course, drinking in the matatu and public service vehicles. It could be a train, whichever public service it is. Mukumbi Gathambi saying, watching from Gathambi, Kirinyaga. Thank you very much for tuning in. And, of course, I see Martin saying, smartness and cleanliness is vital in matatu industry. Been there, done it. We need to bring awareness about business ethics. Again, professionalism. And I can see Joyce saying, I agree, the bus fare and or matatu fare should be standardized. These guys raise their fare anytime they feel like, and if you don't have what they want, they throw you or take your phone. Do they? There is a case trending where a conductor took a passenger's phone. Wow, we need this discussion. All right, but let's talk about eating and drinking. Look, I am one of those people, I'm going to eat. But maybe I'm going to get your advice today. Really, I might not help it. It's fries. It's a fast food. It's a takeaway. Maybe I want to also Chris Mokando. What are your thoughts on this? You know, eating and drinking in the public service vehicles.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, most people gonna eat. You know, if they wanna eat.
There's hustle and bustle.
Yes, things are moving, and you'd see that. Especially in high moving economies like Nairobi, for example, sometimes people don't get to eat at home, and people are like, we just carry it and go with it and just get it there.
Yes.
But I think generally the advice would be that food and the environment where you eat is very important, first of all.
All right.
And then the second thing, which I think is why you know, in most places it's not allowed to eat on the vehicles, is that you'll dirtify the vehicle, or because you'll eat and then you'll just either leave your things there and there is no proper disposal. And so the hygiene of the vehicle itself is already compromised because of you, one person who ate in the vehicle and did not observe. But also the risk that you expose yourself to in terms of the germs and all of the flies and whatnot that, you know, are everywhere, then expose you to a lot of, you know, risk. You know, you could get cholera just from those flies and other diseases, and, you know, just from consuming on public transit where you don't know what the other people are having. So those are some of the risks that come with it. So whilst there is no stringent rule that, you know, you should not eat on the vehicle, then if you know all the facts, you know that it's advisable that, you know, just keep your food, get to the office or get to home and eat it there.
Oh, I picked that. I picked that very seriously. Imagine I spoke for most of all other Kenyans who innocently ate in matatus and in public service vehicles. Also, all the respect to the people who, you know, commute using trains and borders and tuk-tuks for that matter. You're not excluded in this conversation, but I want to hear the last, your parting shot or remarks from Stowell. Stowell, your last words on road safety as far as health is concerned. Remember, COVID-19 is a battle we have to win. So is any outbreak like quote-unquote Homa, cholera, every other thing, because I think the public service vehicles are our second home or third home.
They really are.
Almost our home when we're not at home. So what could be your last words in just a minute as we close the segment?
So 3 things. One is that we have to be knowledgeable about public transport, and we have to know why it is important that public transport is safe and what safe public transport is, which is some of the things we've discussed. Secondly is that, and this goes now to our service providers, who is the touts, the drivers, is that part of the experience of the public transport and the part of the reasons why we love public transport is because of them. If they are nice to us, then we love the experience and we keep the wheel moving. So the human experience, the business ethics is just as important as the third thing, which is the hygiene of the vehicle and the health of the vehicle. So coming from the mechanic side of things, but also to the, you know, common hygiene practices side of things. And then lastly is that we have the ability as individuals, as a nation, to take into consideration and take into action just one thing to ensure that public transport is much safer, is much more informed. And when you see that some of these rules are being broken, you know, speak up.
All right.
Don't just, don't allow it to just sit in with you. Speak up and say, this is wrong and this is wrong. And if enough of us speak up, then we are likely to see these changes.
There's so much power in voices, and if we speak in one voice, how much powerful would that be? Just tell us more about your company. How do we get you? Someone want to do follow-ups with you. Social media platforms, perhaps.
Yeah, so you can reach us out at Stoylink everywhere. So our handles for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have podcasts as well, and the website is all at Stoylink. And when you visit www.stoylink.com, then you should be able to be exposed to all of the programs that we do. And yes, we are very happy to have partnerships and collaborations, and we love working with people, and that is what we do.
All right, thank you for partnering with Arrive Alive starting this minute. I actually say that on live television. You'll be seeing more of him. That's the CEO, Stoylink, and we call him Stowell right here with Simba, who will be walking you through the COVID-19 discussion on the big conversation. Remember, we have to win this battle. It starts with the public transport sector. Why? Because we have to arrive alive. If I get into that bus and get sick on my way, how sure you I'll be alive the next day? Let's take care of the nation together. It's our responsibility. And road safety is a message of love. Only those who love you will share it with you. Again, thank you for keeping us company. See you on as we continue with the show. I take a short breather, and Simba should be able to carry this on with the same energy, positivity, vibrance, and energy again. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Welcome to Look Up Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. When you first come in, we will be happy to receive you at our reception, then proceed to our cozy and well-equipped accommodation facilities. We aim to provide our guests with a unique, comfortable, and worthwhile experience. Here at Look Up Guest House, we provide our guests with a continuous supply of room amenities. A cool environment for all your retreat activities.
Look Up Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. For reservation, contact us on info@lookupguesthouse.org or call us on 0746 788 707.
Kwa habari kutoka kaunti zote nchini Kenya.
Habari zinazoangazia maswala yanayokugusa moja kwa moja ni habari kutoka mashinani. Tunakujuza kuhusu uchumi.
Hakuna haja ya kupiga kura. Tunapigia viongozi gani? Na sisi tunapata tabu.
Kilimo. Afya.
Sisi kama wahudumu wa afya, ikifika saa 6 usiku hatutakuwa kazini.
Uzalishaji na siasa katika kuelimisha na kutoa hamasa ya kipekee.
Tunataka uchumi wa Kenya usaidie mkubwa kwa wadogo.
Ungana nami Lame Kaungo ninapoleta taarifa hizi hapa Look Up TV.
Hi there, my name is George Washuri. I am so happy to see you, and today I am here to enumerate, to explain how we package our land investment. We have 5 levels of our property, and we classify these levels as 1 star, 2 stars, 3 star, 4 star, and 5 star. This is what we mean, that if you buy a property that is 1 star with Optiven, one of the things that is evident, the property is cheaper, is below $500,000. And this particular property is basically bare land. We only do subdivision, put the beacons, and then produce titles. The second level, we call it 2 star. This is prime land, whereby we grade the roads, we put a marking fence, do the beacons, and produce titles The third level, we call it 3 stars. This 3 star is value added plots. We do the malam, we do the water, we do the mesh fence, and there's a caretaker on site. The 4th level is 4 star. 4 star is ready to build development. We do very nice maram roads, we plant the trees, we put the water tower, we also put a caretaker on site, and finally, the 5 star. The 5 star is premier, it's the top level. And this one, we do cable roads, we do water management through underground culverts, we do underground power, we do fountain for water, we do beautiful and nice permanent gates. We do perimeter wall and also do install the CCTV, and the whole property is manned by uniformed security. Some of these properties, these 5-star properties, we do a clubhouse and also construct swimming pool. Thank you once more for trusting Optiven. We value you. We are at Absa Plaza, 14th floor and 15th floor. God bless you.